We should also note that a UN-backed panel has declared famine officially in Gaza City. Israel has disputed that and accuses the organization of lowering the threshold to meet that famine mark. But in terms of bringing adequate amounts of food and medicine, resources in, you were there in June. Israel says that that aid has increased since then. But what are you hearing from your colleagues that are still there?
So today, yes, the aid have increased if you come from the full blockade that was put in place by the Israeli authorities from March. So like they have opened a little bit the tap, but definitely not enough regarding food and regarding drugs for the hospitals. So we are really struggling because there's a lot of impediment in administrative issues always, and then security to be able to collect all the cargoes in Kerem Shalom, which is the entry gate to Gaza, because we're in a war zone. So we are not moving freely in that war zone. So we are only following the routes that are given to us by the Israeli forces, and usually pushing us close to the people who are desperate to get anything because they've been lacking of food, they've been lacking of anything since months. So there's a big problem of looting at the moment mainly for the food that is entering into Gaza from humanitarian aid.
Is it food specifically? I mean, in terms of which supplies are most critically running low right now? We said everything from medicine to food to other medical supplies that are needed at hospitals. Just if you can put into terms, what is most critically low right now?
Absolutely everything, indeed, because like the people are suffering from a lot of things, from famine. So that means that we need some special food, which is therapeutic food, to be able to bring with a number of patients that we have among children, among lactating mother, among pregnant women that are the most vulnerable ones. And then, yes, in terms of drugs and supplies, medical supplies. We are at the time when there has never been as many injured in Gaza today since the very beginning of the war. Like we count like 13,000 injured last month. We already had more than 11,000 this month. All the hospitals, the very remaining hospitals, and with Nasser including, that was just hit by those strikes, is receiving way above the number of patients that they can deal with. We are like 300% occupancy rate at the moment in the hospital. There's people absolutely everywhere that we are trying to deal with because we don't have the capacity with the number of injured that there is today in Gaza. So definitely we don't have the stocks to deal with those patients. So like the food, the water, everything is essential because nothing is entering in sufficient quantities today in Gaza.
Since lifting the blockade, Israel has insisted that the real problem is aid distribution. They're often blaming Hamas for interference. How do you respond to that? And I guess since you're not there right now, how are your colleagues who are there in real time responding to this?
But I would like to remind first that there was never any evidence of the mass looting that was the reason for the blockade. And then the very US has even had a report discrediting that theory. So today we are in a situation that is man-made, that is built on a lie. So that's the first thing that I think we need to remind everyone. And then, yes, it's the situation is absolutely appalling, very difficult. The people are lacking food. The thing is, like, they're allowing and helping the entrance of commercial food, which is fantastic, but like no support for the humanitarian aid that is entering. There is no security that is given by the Israeli forces for those cargo. So they are never reached. Indeed, they cannot reach the destination for distribution. There is like a self-distribution, as we call it, of people who are desperate to get anything, but there's also some criminal looting of people who are making money out of it. And I'm able to say who are those people, but definitely because of the lack of everything, we are creating a market for it. And if we open the gate and we overflow the market with humanitarian aid, we would not be in that situation today.
Yeah, that is something and an argument and a point that has been made by many critics, including within Israel, that aid should have been flooded in nonstop, because then you wouldn't have seen a lot of this looting and the spikes in food prices over the last few months. Your colleagues, just tell us about how they're doing, their conditions, both mentally and physically.
Honestly, I don't recognize them. It's people who have like the most strength that I've never seen, the resilience. But today, and especially in the north, with the announcement of that offensive that's going to come, I can see, because I talk to them every day, and I can see that my colleagues, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to protect their family. That it has always been a very difficult, but they don't know if they need to go south, if they can stay there. They're all afraid to die, but they just think like they're gonna die anyway, regardless where they're going, because nowhere in safe is Gaza today. So they're really struggling. Honestly, taking care of patients today is what they keep them running, but then at the same time, like the suffering of the people, it's a huge toll on the mental health of absolutely everyone, including the medical staff today in Gaza. And the lack of food, they all lost a lot of weight, and thinking again that they're the people who are receiving a salary, and if there is something to buy, they can afford it. But the problem is for months and months, there was nothing. So everybody is lacking the basic nutrients. So they're really in a very bad state, and all of them are really asking for help, for food, and to get out of hell.
You know, what's interesting is we're hearing a lot of condemnation and public statements saying that more is needed from European countries and capitals. The Trump administration has been rather muted. President Trump just yesterday said that he thinks that this conflict will come to, the fighting will end within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We'll see if that's the case. But both within Israel and I know among aid organizations, there is a bit of disappointment that they view President Trump, who was early on in his administration very eager to see a ceasefire hostage deal. In fact, he saw a number of hostages that he rightly so takes credit for coming home, and a ceasefire being in place for a significant period of time. They say that without him once again leading the charge, that there may not be a resolution here. And we're seeing this from both sides, both within Israel and also among aid organizations and Palestinian civilians too. Are you hearing that?
Of course, we're hearing the same, and we can see it. It's also because no one took the stand when it was needed. Like, it's been 22 months today, and people seem only to realize what is the situation in Gaza and what has been the situation in those last 22 months. If they have taken actions before, but we're in the same situation as in Ukraine, when no one did anything, and now it's very difficult to come back from it and to have any kind of pressure on the Israeli authorities. So we expect again from the President Trump that he will try to end that war and get the release of all the hostages that are still in the hand of Hamas today.
The strike yesterday at Nassar Hospital, the IDF coming out immediately saying that they are not targeting journalists or civilians or aid workers, then an unusual and rather quick response from the Prime Minister himself, calling it a tragic mishap. Today we're getting a bit more information, the IDF saying they killed 6 terrorists, but clearly there's a lot of pressure on Israel and their role here in whether the intentional or unintentional deaths of journalists in particular. And I know one of them, Mariam Abu Daga, is someone that has worked very closely with MSF, a photographer who has collaborated on many stories with the organization. I believe we have some photos of her as well. She was killed in this attack. What does she mean to your organization and to some of the storytelling about the everyday work that you and MSF does?
Yeah, she was a very dedicated journalist, and she was always eager to come and to work and to document what is happening in Gaza today, but also the daily life of the people, to be able to testify what's happening. Recently, she was in our maternity ward, and she had some very kind words to all the women who had delivered in such a difficult time, and she was supposed to come with us and to work on another story on the water delivery. I know that all our team is of course very, very sad, and it's not the first person that we are losing. Unfortunately, all of our colleagues have lost a lot of loved ones, but I know that everywhere, it's not just us. On the social media, everybody is really mourning her death and the one of all the other journalists that have died in that incident, but also since the beginning of the war.